Good morning, friends. Myself, Dr. Vijayendra Singh Tamar, Associate Professor in English. Presently, I am posted at Government College Guda in Jhanjano district. Well, during my last video lecture, I told you that there are certain literary terms which every student of literature should know in order to understand or grasp the meaning conveyed by the poets or authors. Today, we will take up such literary term entitled personification. Let me remind you that these literary terms are not prescribed to a particular class, but they are essential part of our learning, understanding literature. If we want to understand literature, we should know literary terms. Then only we will be able to grasp the meaning. And such literary terms are many, such as simile, metaphor, lyric, elegy. Today we are going to take up personification. So personification is also a literary term. Actually, we can say it is a literary device. Literary device which are used by the poets in their works. And to be more precise, we can say that personification is a figure of speech. Now question arises, what is a figure of speech? Figure of speech is a device or the use of language by the author in such a way that the language becomes more clear, vivid, meaning graphic, that is, the audience or reader can understand it easily and also gets impressed by the way the poet has presented that idea. In personification, an idea or thing is given human attributes. Human attributes mean human qualities. He is presented as a human being. There are certain things in the world, we can say, we can divide all the things into two things, non-living things and living things. Non-living things cannot talk. But if they are presented as human beings and talking, animals are presented as human beings, this is called personification. Means we give certain human attributes to things, maybe feelings, or the item is presented as a human. If we go into the depth of the word, we find personification is a common form of metaphor, in that human characteristics are attributed to non-human things. Means non-living things, non-human things are presented as human beings. For example, west wind as human beings, autumn as human being. These are seasons, these are air, or even sickle is presented, time is presented as a human being. So this is called personification. When the poet uses this technique or this kind of device is used by the poet, it allows the writers to create life and motion within inanimate objects, animals, and even abstract ideas by assigning them recognizable human behavior and emotions. For example, Time by John Milton has been presented as a cunning thief who has wings and it keeps on always moving. In a famous serial Mahabharata, you must have seen the time has been presented as a wheel which keeps on moving all the time. That is, human attributes have been given to that wheel who speaks that I am time, and the symbol that the time never stops. we can say figures are also called images, for in them one thing is represented in the image of other. There is a thing which is included in something else, and then it is presented and the reader or audience get the clear idea, and this is called literary device used by the poet. In a word, we can say personification is a device by which the poet assigns human attributes to non-human things. Now let us see the examples of personification. Now the first example: opportunity knocks at the door but once. It is generally said that opportunity is an abstract noun we cannot see, but it has been given human attributes that it knocks at everyone, that it comes in the life of every person. If a person opens the door, that is utilizes that opportunity, is benefited. If he doesn't, then he is a loser. Similarly, peace hath her victories no less renowned than war. Similarly, peace is also an abstract noun, but it is presented. The second stanza of Keats' famous poem Ode to the West Wind, Ode to Autumn, finally personifies the season autumn as a woman carrying on the rural course of that time of the year. That is, autumn, which is a breeze, cannot be seen by the eyes, has been presented by the poet in that stanza in four human beings. The four forms. First is as a winnower, then as a reaper, then as a apple cresser, side cresser, and in this way we find that West Wind is presented as a human being. Similarly, Shakespeare's well-known sonnet, The Marriage of True Minds. In that poem, time is presented as a farmer who has a sickle and keeps on cutting. Whatever comes in rains, it is destroyed. That is time very powerful. As the poet writes, love is not time's fool. Though rosy lips and cheeks within the bending sickle compass come. In all these instances, life and intelligence have been imparted to lifeless objects or abstract ideas. The example which we have just read, you find that they were either abstract, we were not able to see or touch them, we just feel them. They have been provided human attributes. Now there is a very interesting thing about personification. In the 18th century, it was something that everything was personified, and it became a part of the tradition of all the poets to use that personification in everything, and it lost that kind of impact. It became a thoughtless formula. The poet uses so many personification that reader gets bored. Sometimes it is beyond his understanding what has been personified. In this connection, Coleridge has given us a very interesting example. Just as nowadays we are suffering from COVID and research are going on the vaccine. In the same way, at that time, there was an epidemic, smallpox, and vaccine was given to people to save their life. So even that process has been was personified in that time, as the poet gives the example that inoculation means a process of vaccination, giving drop to human beings. Heavenly made descend means just as now we can pray, oh God, send some kind of vaccine so we can be saved. So that was, you can say, very thoughtless formula. if we go to the conclusion, we find personification have been used by poets to decorate their language, to make it impressive, so that the reader get impressed at the first appearance, to make it more vivid and pictorial, that impressive, to increase its force and effectiveness, and to communicate their meanings more lucidly and clearly. And the poet who uses this in this way is a really great poet. And if he, any poet uses it without thinking, that is thoughtless formula, he will remain ineffective. By increasing the beauty of language, the use of figures provides great aesthetic satisfaction to the readers. The reader gets impressed what a way the poet has presented his idea, and poet is also happy that he has been able to do it very effectively.